Okay, hello everyone. So far in our line by line NCERT series, we have studied introduction and plant kingdom, and then we went through algae, and then we detailedly saw bryophytes, and then we practiced all the questions in MemoNeet app, and also we had two revision sessions where we revised from the practice button in the MemoNeet app, where we moved the memory, like the subconscious memory, to short-term memory, and then we moved short-term memory to the repeated short-term memory. So now today the topic that we're going to see is pteridophytes. So pteridophytes is quite simple. So the pteridophytes include horsetails and ferns. These are two types of pteridophytes. And then pteridophytes are used for medicinal purposes and as soil binders. So they're saying they're used in several medicinal purposes and are also used as soil binders. So this means that like bryophytes, pteridophytes also prevent soil erosion. Okay, so they're also frequently known as ornamentals. Ornamental in the sense for beauty purposes, okay, to decorate and everything. And evolutionarily, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues. So we saw that both in algae and bryophytes, the plant body was a thallus. So that means that it was not very distinguished or complex, distinguished into root, stems, and leaves. So they're not very complex plants. But when you come to pteridophytes, these plants are first plants that possess vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. So we will not talk about this in detail because it comes in chapter 6 again. So the only thing we have to keep in mind now is pteridophytes are the only pteridophytes are the first plant types that have vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. Like bryophytes, pteridophytes are also found in cool, damp, shady places, though some may flourish well in sandy conditions as well. So mostly they're in damp, shady places, but some are in sandy solutions. So you may recall that bryophytes are predominant phase in bryophytes was gametophytic plant body. Right, that was given when we were studying bryophytes. But however, in pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte. So that is the difference. In bryophytes, the main predominant phase in the cycle, the bryophyte will always be a gametophyte, right, producing gametes, antheridium and archegonium. But in pteridophytes, the main plant body is a sporophyte, which is differentiated into true root, stems, and leaves. Okay, so the plant body in the sporophyte of the pteridophyte is not a thallus, because a thallus is something that is not divided into roots, stems, and leaves. So we can see that the main plant body is a sporophyte, which is differentiated into true roots, stems, and leaves, and these organs possess well differentiated vascular tissues, that is xylem and phloem. Okay, so in these four lines, the only thing they're saying for bryophyte, the predominant phase was gametophyte, but for pteridophytes, the predominant phase was sporophyte. And the other thing they're telling us also, this sporophyte is divided into true root, stems, and leaves. But in bryophytes, it had root-like, stem-like, leaf-like structures, but they were not true root, stems, and leaves. But pteridophytes that have true root, stems, and leaves. Okay, these organs possess well differentiated vascular tissues, like xylem and phloem. The leaves in pteridophyte are small microphylls. So microphylls in the sense they does not have a lot of veins. It will only have one vein. And macrophylls meaning is that the leaf has a lot of sub-branch of veins, like this. You could have practically seen both the type of leaves in daily life. So the leaves are small in Selaginella and large in ferns. Microphyll in Selaginella and macrophyll in ferns. Okay, the sporophytes bear sporangia that is subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. So this is not properly given in any of the diagrams. So I'm gonna give you a good diagram. So look at this. So this is the overall plant as the sporophyte. Okay, so this particular leaf-like structure is a sporophyll. Okay, and then this red dots are the sporangia. Okay, so the overall plant, see, all the plant will not have these red dots, But the thing we have to understand is this leaf-like structure is a sporophyll, and the red dots type thing is the sporangia. So now if we go and read it will be very clear. See, the sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. Okay, the sporophytes have sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. So in some cases, sporophylls may form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. In case of Selaginella and Equisetum. Okay, so this is also shown here. See, strobilus. Okay, so strobilus is the plural form. So strobili, you can see that clearly here. In some cases, sporophylls may form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. In case of Selaginella or Equisetum, so see, this is a cone type, cone-shaped structure. So that is formed in the sporophyll. Instead of forming sporangia, the sporophyll forms strobili in some cases. The sporangia produces spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. So they're just telling the sporangia. The meaning of sporangia itself, it is a spore producing structure. So this sporangia, the job of sporangia is to produce spores by what? By meiosis. Like we always know that the spores are produced only through meiosis. So these produce spores by meiosis in spore mother cells. Okay, that is, this sporangia will have spore mother cells in them. So the spores are produced from the spore mother cells. Like this in should be from, that is a small mistake here, but still the meaning is this: the spore mother cells in the sporangia produces spores by meiosis. So that's how this sentence should have been written. Okay, so the spores germinate to give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophytes called as prothallus. Okay, so they're just telling that these spores germinate and give rise to inconspicuous, small but multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophytes called as prothallus. So we saw that the sporophyte was differentiated to true stem, leaves and roots. So the sporophyte in the case of pteridophyte is not a thalloid. Okay, but the gametophyte, that is the prothallus or gametophyte, is a thalloid in pteridophytes. So we have to remember that. Okay, so these gametophytes require, again, same cool, damp, shady places to grow. So because of this specific restricted requirement and the need for water for fertilization, the spread of living pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. So this is true. See, because of the gametophytes require cool, damp, shady places to grow. Okay, so because of this specific requirement that it can only grow in cool, damp, shady places, so it is not spread all over the world. It is only restricted to narrow geographical regions, which is obvious. That's why we see specific type of plants only in specific regions, right? So that is true. So the gametophytes bear male and female sex organs, that is Antheridia and Archegonia. So this is very simple, we already know that, respectively. So water is required for transfer of antherozoids. Okay, so that's true. The male gametes released from Antheridia to the mouth of Archegonium. So this is what happens everywhere. Inside the Archegonium there will be an egg, and this male gametes called as Antheridia is released from the Antheridium. Okay, so male gametes called as antherozoids are released from the Antheridium. Sorry. Fusion of male gamete with the egg present in the Archegonium result in the formation of zygote. So this is what happens everywhere when two gametes fuses together. The two gametes fuses together, it forms a zygote. So zygote thereafter produces a multicellular, well-differentiated sporophyte, which is the dominant phase of the pteridophytes. Now the cycle pretty much is, you need to understand that the cycle pretty much changes when it comes to bryophytes and pteridophytes. You need to compare and read this. Okay, in terms of bryophytes, you know what happened, right? After the zygote production, the gametophyte produces, after the zygote production, the zygote gives rise to a sporophyte, and then the sporophyte produces spores, and from the spores, gametophytes are produced, right? Because for bryophytes, the gametophyte was the predominant stage, but here you need to see that the zygote thereafter produces a sporophyte, which is the dominant phase of it. Ends in the sporophyte. This reproductive cycle ends in a gametophyte in the case of bryophytes, and in pteridophytes it ends in sporophyte, because sporophyte is the dominant phase in pteridophytes. Okay, so in majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores are of similar kinds. Such plants are called homosporus. Okay, spores in the sense the spores produced in the sporangia, right? This spore where we read, right, the spores produced in the sporangia. So they're talking about that spores. So in majority of the spores are of similar kinds. Such plants are called homosporus. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinella, which Selaginella and Salvinia, which produce two kinds of spores, macro and microspores, are known as heterosporus. Okay, so the megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male gametophytes respectively. Okay, so the megaspores give rise to female gametophytes and microspores give rise to male gametophytes. So the female gametophytes in these plants are retained. The female gametophytes in these plants are retained on the parent sporophytes for variable periods. Okay, the development of the zygotes into young embryos take place within the female gametophytes. So this event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. Okay, the pteridophytes are further classified into four classes: Psilopsida, Psilotum, Lycopsida. In Lycopsida, Selaginella and Lycopodium, Sphenopsida and Pteropsida. Lot of classes, four classes, okay, and a lot of examples. Okay, I think this paragraph, it was not very clear, so we understood till Homosporus. Now we will come back again, we will read this once again. So genera like Selaginella and Salmonella, they produce two kinds of spores. It's very simple, macro and micro. So that's why Selaginella and Salvinia were called as heterosporus. So the megaspores and microspores germinate and give rise to female and male. We know that the spores germinate and give rise to gametophytes, right? So that's what we read here. The spores germinate and give rise to gametophytes. Okay, so that's very clear. So they are telling that the megaspores give rise to female gametophytes and microspores give rise to male gametophytes. So this is a different thing that is happening only for heterosporus type of pteridophytes. Okay, so now what happens now? The female gametophytes in these plants, okay, the female gametophytes in these plants are retained on the parent sporophytes. Okay, the female gametophytes are retained in the parent sporophytes for variable periods. I mean, for different timings. So some are retained in for a small time, and some are retained for a long time. Okay, so the development of the zygotes into young embryos take place within the female gametophytes. So it's nothing. So assume that this is a sporophyte. Okay, from sporophyte, if a female gametophyte arises, assume that this is a female gametophyte. So this actually stays in the sporophyte for various time, and we know that this female gametophyte will have the female gametophyte will have its archegonium in it. So when the anthrozoids go into the archegonium, that is the egg inside the archegonium, the zygote is formed in the female gametophyte itself. Okay, so the development of zygote into young embryos take place within the female gametophyte. So after the zygote again will become germinate and the zygote will then become a sporophyte, right? So that development phase happened inside the female gametophyte itself. So female gametophyte is interned in the sporophyte itself. So the new plant will not occur separately in but in Heterosporus type, there is a possibility that the new sporophyte comes from the existing sporophyte itself. So that's the point. Development of zygotes into young embryo takes place in the female gamete. This event is a precursor to the seed habit, considered an important step in evolution. So they're telling that there is a seed habit, right? Like a lot of plant produces seeds which fall into the ground, and then the plants will grow, right? We know that. So this is a precursor, that is after this type of things, like a plant having a sporophyte having a female gametophyte attached to the sporophyte itself, and then the new sporophyte develops into the female, like inside the female gametophyte. So this just looks like a stage that is before seeds, because in seeds also that's how it forms, right? The new plant arises inside the enclosed seed, and then it comes out. So similar to that, the new sporophyte exists inside the female gametophyte, and then it comes out after that. So this is a precursor to the seed habit, considered as an important step. And then there are 4 classes: Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Spenopsida, and Pteropsida. Okay, so this is these and all is very hard to remember if you don't have MemoNeet. So go and install MemoNeet, because that will help you revise all the single words more than 7 times. So that will help you to learn it well. So now we will go and practice some questions on Gymnosperms from MemoNeet. Okay, it's taking some time to load. Give me Okay, we are studying plant kingdom, Pteridophytes. Okay. So horsetails and ferns are obviously Pteridophytes. There's no doubt in that. Okay, what is the importance of Pteridophytes? They are used in medicinal purposes, and also they are used as spoil binders, and they are also grown as ornamental plants. So all the above. See how the NCERT lines are reinstated in your mind when you solve questions in MemoNeet. So which one of the following is considered first terrestrial plants to be evolved having xylem and phloem? That is obviously Pteridophytes. So choose the incorrect statement. All Pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady places. Some Pteridophytes may flourish in well sand. Most of them are found in cool, damp, shady place. Most Pteridophytes are found in cool, damp, shady place. And some may flourish well in sandy soil. That is true. All are found. See, this is a tricky question. So all are found in cool, damp, and shady places is an incorrect statement, which is right. So the Pteridophytes are mostly Homosporus, right? Mostly Homosporus. Some like Salaginella and Salvinia, they are Heterosporus. Okay, Megaphilus, Microphilus. So, I forgot this. I guess for Microphilus it was Salaginella, and Megaphilus it was ferns. Okay, I got it right. So plant body in Pteridophyte is, the main plant body in Pteridophyte is a sporophyte that has true root, stem, and leaf. Okay, so this we should remember properly. So choose the correct option. Salaginella has small leaves. Salaginella has large leaves. Ferns have macrophylls. I believe ferns have macrophylls, and Salaginella has microphylls. So both A and C. Okay. So sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called a sporophyll. Sporophylls. Yay, this is the right answer. So the leaves bring sporangium, leaf-bearing sporangium or sporophyll. In some Pteridophytes, sporophylls form compact structure called sporophylls form compact structure called as this strobilus or cone. Okay, so cone is found in, I think it's found in both Equisetum and Salaginella, A and C. true. So the fertilization in pteridophytes takes place by fertilization in pteridophytes takes place by, oh, what could be the answer? It is getting interesting. I think it's oogamy. Zoidogamy. Zoidogamy is the type of plant in which male can spin apart path of water to female gametes. Zoidogamy is found in algae. I think okay, it's pretty confusing here. We will talk about this question later. So prothallus in pteridophyte is thallus. This one. Non-vascular haploid multicellular small mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte. This is an NCERT. So in pteridophyte spore germinates to produce a prothallus. So arrange in order from the smallest to the largest. So the smallest would be, I think so. Sorry is present in cone, then cones, I think, then sporangium, gametophyte. I might be wrong. I think cones will come here. Oh, I got it wrong. So gametophyte, sporangium. Oh, sorry, cones. Okay. Which one is wrongly matched? Gemmacups marchantia, biflagellate zoospores brown algae, uniflagellate gametes polysiphonia, unicellular organism chlorella. Okay, biflagellate zoospores brown algae, uniflagellate gametes polysiphonia, unicellular organism chlorella. Polysiphonia have the gametes of red algae are non-motile, so they do not have flagella. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, so you should know that I'm also learning with you guys, so I can make mistakes. Okay, so this one I'm going to get it wrong, but when I keep practicing in MemoNeet, I think I will remember this. But I think for Psilopsida it was Selaginella. I will just put some random stuff here. The next time I will get it right. All the four are wrong. So Psilopsida, it's Rhinia. Lycopsida, it's Selaginella. Sphenopsida, it's Equisetum. And Pteropsida, it's Azolla. Okay. Psilopsida, it's Rhinia. Lycopsida, it's Selaginella. Sphenopsida, it's Equisetum. Pteropsida, it's Azolla. Okay. Selaginella is Lycopsida. Selaginella is a famous name because we talk about Selaginella in other places as well. So remember that it is Lycopsida. And Rhinia is Psilopsida. And Equisetum also, we know that Equisetum has Equisetum comes somewhere else as well when we talk about I don't remember exactly, but okay. So the main differentiating factor between non-vascular and vascular plants is the presence of tracheids. Okay, I think it is a bit deep. It does not pteridophytes. In pteridophytes, the prothallus actually produces Antheridia and Archegonia. Yeah, because the prothallus is actually a gametophyte. So the heterosporous pteridophytes are Selaginella and Salvinia. This question came in NEET 2021. The sporophyte is dominant phase in pteridophytes. Pteridophyte gymnosperms. Okay, we haven't learned about gymnosperms and angiosperms yet, so no problem. So in Homosporus pteridophyte, the gametophyte is always unvascular. Monoecious. In heterophilous pteridophytes, the gametophyte. In heterosporous pteridophytes, the gametophytes no, these questions were not from from the NCERT. I think it comes back in other lines of NCERT. So don't worry now that we got some questions wrong. That's not a problem. We will learn them when we get into the other passages. Okay. So which one is correct about Heterosporus Pteridophytes? Microspores and megaspores develop into male and female gametophytes respectively. Yeah, true. The female gametophyte are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable period. True. The development of zygote in the embryo takes place within the female. True. All the above. So identify the diagram. Oh my god, I didn't learn the diagram at all. But I think this looks like as if it's Salaginella. Yeah. So this one should be a fawn, maybe. Oh, it's Equisetum. So this should be a fawn. Oh, this is Salvinia. Okay, all good. We practiced good questions. So when we revise, I think we will get a bit some questions, mostly the questions right. Because I'm also reading with you guys. Please remember that. Okay, thank you.